Okay, for the folks watching on YouTube, this is our Hackaday Hack Chat, April 3rd, 2019, noon Pacific Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Hackaday did a cool poster and more. We're here behind the scenes as we type words into the Hack Chat. The URL is on the video in a variety of places. Say hi, Ladyada.
Hi, everybody. I'm just typing this Hack Chat because we're chatting and we're videoing, and it's just like there's so much going on.
And behind the scenes here is the CircuitPython core team in alphabetical order. Dan, say hi, Dan. Hi. How's it going, Dan?
All right, hi.
All right, Kattni.
Hello.
Hi, Kattni.
I was distracted, sorry.
And Scott.
Hi.
Hey, Scott.
How's it going?
Okay. All right, so I'll keep things going along here
Okay,
on this side. And
we're ready.
There
Chatting.
we go.
And I got my shirt, so you know it's time for Blinka, our mascot of CircuitPython. She types like one cake at a time with her tail,
Yeah,
but she loves learning the program. And we have some libraries named after her too. That's insane.
that's right.
And we also have the hardware demos I'll show off
We
later.
do have hardware demos. We're going to show those. And I'm going to put this in our... We have a Discord chat as well, so it's live broadcasting. And then our other fun things that we'll have today will be... on our side, we've got
Ooh.
Python on hardware
We
devices.
got so many. Hold on, I gotta just little countdown.
Yeah, I changed the countdown for 1 hour because I wanted to show that it was still working.
I know, because it'd be weird if it was like, it's done, because
Yeah.
it happened.
In fact, you can see how easy it is to change things. This is Moo. And all you have to do is simple size.
Only seeing part of it, I think.
Yeah, that's weird. Let's see if I can fix that.
We can see the date.
There you go.
Well,
I guess we get crops. So.
Yeah, there we can see line numbers now.
yeah, you can see line numbers. Okay.
Yep.
So it's as easy as changing the event hour right here.
All right, change it.
Well, no, because I want to
What's
keep it
true?
going.
This gets running.
Okay. Let's get back to the hack chat.
Okay, we're back to hacking.
Okay.
Chatting and hacking.
Looks
hacking,
like
chatting.
Rebecca Skinner, interested in IoT environmental data and sensors. All right, Ladyada, why don't you start typing what things you can do with Python and hardware
Yeah.
and environmental sensors.
Okay, everybody. So, on the topic of IoT and environmental sensors, we have like 150 libraries for all sorts of sensors you can use.
Oh, Kattni, can you put the link to the libraries in the...
Absolutely.
So,
I'm going to circuitpython.org,
Kattni is
and I'm going to
the
click libraries,
official
and that's how I find things now.
library.
But there's also a better way, I think.
So we have your sensors covered. Woo. Okay, next up, we recently added IoT support to CircuitPython using an ESP32 as a Wi-Fi coprocessor. So, you are about to ask, why didn't you just use the ESP32?
Why didn't you just use ESP32?
Or, what is wrong with you? There is ESP32 for MicroPython. Great question. Answer is, we wanted native USB for the awesome CircuitPython experience. 1. And 2, we find that we do best when we offload all the SSL, TLS, certificate stuff and have it run async. ESP32 is so cheap and easy to use. It's great as a co-op. Loving it. Yeah.
Right. And then next question, we could probably all chime in for this one. There's MicroPython form, now branching off to other platforms, STM32, SP32, CircuitPython, Microbit. What's the overall strategy on Circuit, Adafruit, Python, both software and hardware? Well, for us, it's always...
Hold on, I can't scroll back. Oh my god, wait, there's a thing. Can you see it?
Yeah, it's right there.
Okay.
Well, for us, our thing is always easy to use, so it's for beginners in education, and the most support in drivers.
Yeah.
So we can all probably type a little bit of that.
I'll answer the CircuitPython API thing. For the hardware API, we're trying very, very, very hard to stick to one API for all hardware, so we only have to maintain one version of our drivers.
Right, and I would say that's the software strategy that Andre is talking about, right?
Yeah. The SI 721 library will run on Raspberry Pi, Google Coral, NVIDIA Jetson, SIM, the Circuit Playground, NRF 52840.
Right.
Okay. It's basically a how. We
just don't call it that.
I know, because it's like how open the pod bay doors.
I think it's pretty heavy to say, hi, beginner, like this is your first time you're going to do maybe programming or hardware. Let's talk about the hardware interface. Like we kind of lose people.
Yeah, and the way that we've designed it is very functional driven. So like our modules and our classes that we've come up with are not reflective of the hardware itself, but rather the tasks that you want to achieve with hardware. For example, we have PWM out, even though like a timer is usually the thing under the hood.
Usually, but not on Raspberry Pi. On Raspberry Pi, we actually bit bang it with libgpiod.
Right, and
there's no such thing as a timer. So like,
right,
exposing a timer interface, it's great, but it's like also people can't use them. It's too hard. Like you just want the next timer that's available. You want the thing to happen.
Right. Yeah, and I think HAL tends to imply that as well. Of like many that I've seen are just abstractions on top of like different versions of a peripheral rather than like super high level, like we're talking about.
Okay, so let's move on.
Yeah, for the folks that are watching the video, I'd say the beginner-friendly part of it also translates well to, like, let's say if you just wanted to have your Splatoon scores on a PyPortal. This is the closest thing we got to sports, by the way.
I know, we're totally going to do a sports thing, and like, it didn't really happen.
So this would normally be impossible and hard in lots of other platforms, but this is, it's just JSON and displaying it in the examples that we have from the start. I think I have the video from quotes. It's based on things like this. So this is a video that JP did, and this gets the quotes off of our site, and it's just a JSON file. So normally that would be hard, and it would take a while. It might not even be worth doing the project. It might just be like, well, I should get a television or a phone. Here is how many people are in space. That was another easy one.
Yeah, I was going to go find the NVIDIA commit so people can see that NVIDIA support. We're just doing BeagleBone lately. Here we go. It's before Quest 98.
This is also similar to the hackaday countdown. As far as it gets the internet time, the correct time, and then it'll count down, and it's an alarm clock. So these are specific dates and times, the top one up there. And then there's the hackaday PyPortal project that shows live how many skulls you got. And then there's the weather, and that's live.
Yeah, so kind of like we did with hardware, where it's like, what is this like core API that lets you get like 90% of your projects done? PyPortal is in like a 90% IoT device. So it doesn't do absolutely every possible thing you'd want to do with IoT, but the common project, which is authenticate with a site, get a JSON or XML thing, bring it back, and then display it, it does really, really well. Online.
Other things that people have been doing, this is IBM, someone who works there, IBM Monroe. They were able to quickly put together job listings. This is a to-do system. This is Asana. I think it's kind of like Pivotal or like other assignment systems. And this is, again, just JSON displaying what someone had on their to-do list on their PyPortal. And then this is my gremlin clock, because this will solve all the problems if you have a mogwai. So every single day it tells you when you can feed a mogwai and not feed a mogwai. And it also reminds you, don't get the mogwai wet.
Yeah, one of the things that's funny about these is doing clocks where you don't have to worry about daylight savings time. So this gets the time based on your time zone or IP address, and it's always correct. That's like it's such a problem, is like getting daylight savings fixed. And like, I don't know, is there like a canonical discussion of daylight savings? And
yeah, there's a lot of arguments.
Yeah,
everyone talks about the what if you go after international date line and stuff like that. Common problem in mogwais. My opinion always is if you're like pushing it, like you're just getting down to like the hour, your time zones, you shouldn't have a mogwai. So like, there you go.
Dan, are you answering Klaus or?
I can do that. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I figured all three of us would end up doing it, so we should probably.
Yeah. There's always a question about NumPy. I don't know why. I think it's people are just like, well, what's the biggest library you can think of?
Yeah, and people love NumPy. Like the data science community of Python's really strong, so
yeah,
having options for them makes sense. It's just they're giant and they're monolithic. One thing we tried to do with the library design is split apart everything into very small modules so that your memory impact is minimal for what you want to do. And a lot of Python libraries are not designed that way, which makes it tricky to bring C Python libraries over to CircuitPython because they're just gigantic.
Do you want to answer that in the chat?
I assume somebody else.
Yeah.
Because they ask a question, like three of us will answer just basically the same thing. So, Happy Day. Happy Day asks, has IRQ support been added to GPIO pins yet in CircuitPython? The answer is no.
Do you want to answer that and why? I think we have a stock answer now of like, what is it that you actually want to do? Right.
Yeah. Does somebody want to type it in while I talk about it?
Yeah.
Okay. The why is that generally people want IRQs because they want performance with CircuitPython, and that's not necessarily the right way to use CircuitPython, because at any point things can interrupt you and slow you down. So like expecting reliable runtimes is kind of fool's errand in CircuitPython. So that means that like concurrency and multi-threading doesn't exist because we have a single core, and then it's just complicated on top of it because concurrent programming is really hard. So no, we don't have IRQ support. We tend to just poll if you need it. And there is an issue that we have on the repo if people have opinions on how we should add it. But we haven't kind of come up with a way that we think is easy for beginners and easy to program and also satisfies the people who need
I think most people are not hearing what we're saying, so we have to.
That's right. You have to type it into
I know.
Yeah.
You have to type into the chat.
Yeah, this is for us, so we could say it and then one of us can type it in.
Yeah. I think we'll get views on this video at the end anyway, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dan, did you want to answer the IRQ question? Okay, great.
I can answer Toddbot, who asks, any plans on supporting Python packages with native code loadable at runtime? Hard, I know, but would be really useful. MicroPython just added support for it, so we'll probably inherit it. But it's complicated to keep track of because you have different architectures, different platforms. I don't know if it would be as useful as people think it would be.
Okay. So I answered why we don't have IRQ in MicroPython. Somebody asked,
very slow machine learning.
AI at the edge and CircuitPython working with Adafruit IoT ecosystem. Well, I might be able to answer this one. I think that we'll see people using Adafruit IO specifically because we have a lot of CircuitPython libraries, and we'll probably use that for anything you need to do with getting data, logging, doing stuff. That's probably where I would see it first. Like it'd be interacting with I/O and doing things. So I'll start to.
Okay, I'll answer concurrency C above, but that's why having ESP at 32 is great. Hardware concurrency. It's easier to manage than software. Send a request to get data with ESP32 buffers the socket. Oh yeah. I can't seem to scroll back, so let me know if I missed anything.
You have to like get above the like fold so that it doesn't like auto bump you down.
I see. Yeah, I got it.
It's finicky.
I figured it out.
Dan Smith asks, Ladyada, your educational offerings are excellent. Is there one page that has reasons for middle school students to learn Python? I'm seeing some good ones in this discussion. Thanks.
I was about to answer that with the Welcome to CircuitPython guide.
Okay.
For the folks that are watching, since I mentioned Adafruit IO, like, here's some of the things that you can do. So the use cases on like edge computing, like machine learning and what type of things you do, eventually you have to do something and make a decision and have a trigger or alerts. So I think that's the way it would interact. You'd probably do something like Blinka on a Linux device, and then you'd interact with something like Adafruit IO.
Okay. I answered Happy, who asked, well, how do you do sleep modes? And we don't actually have sleep mode support yet. Oh, that's something we're thinking about.
Well, so Happy Day was actually working on that for a while previously, trying to get the sleep mode stuff going. But the model that I'd really like to have is just like time.sleep just goes to sleep.
Yeah.
But then the question is, like, how do you deal with like interrupts waking you up and that sort of thing?
How do you wake up? Yeah, I think that's a little bit different because it wouldn't be an interrupt. That's like different than it's right. Like a wake up note. So I think that would be more likely because you don't actually jump to a handler. You just kick yourself out of sleep.
Right. You just gotta say like, you have to have like a different sleep module that says sleep while waiting for these things. We want to get there at some point, but it's not a high priority for us.
Not a high priority, but we have some issues about sleep mode. Once
right.
I think actually, sleep mode is our oldest.
I think it is too. Yeah.
Issue.
Like yeah, but I wouldn't say it's the most popular though. Like even if it's old, not a lot of people have chimed in on it.
I think since we're about to, well, I could show like we have a bunch of e-ink things coming out. I think there'll probably be more people interested in looking at how sleep could be accomplished, because that's an interesting example of when you would want to go to sleep and wake up and different types of things. So maybe then. But
Yeah, and I was thinking we might want to do it for the upcoming gaming handheld as well to get battery life higher. But
oh, so if you're on the video, you get to see it's not out yet stuff.
Yeah, I was playing with mine yesterday. It's a very neat device.
Oh, Pi badge.
But I was running into issues. I think I just found it actually, but we'll see.
All right, Chris asked thoughts about generic MQTT libraries. Okay, so I can answer this one.
Okay.
Chris, we expose a socket interface to the ESP32, so any socket MQTT library should work. I haven't seen any awesome MQTT
Python libraries?
libs, yeah, yet. But if you do, let us know. We haven't yet. You'd like to help out, check out the issue. Sorry. Right now, our focus is getting 4.0 out to release. Okay. So I think I answered all the questions.
Yeah, I think we're caught up.
Okay. I think Limor would be interesting for, as we do more e-ink stuff, just because like you can just wake up, display something. But yeah, I think that's more likely than an IRQ system.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it would be pin based, like when this pin toggles, wake up, or wake up after 5 seconds.
Well, yeah, the 5 seconds is really easy because you just do like the regular time.sleep API, and like if we know we're sleeping, like we can totally take the freedom to suspend.
That's true.
Right, like we don't even need a new API if it's just time-based.
Yeah, and then we have a library that actually does the work of you could, well, not a library, but you'd have a function that would shut off of all your peripheral, because you want to shut down any extra hardware that's connected.
Yeah, I think we're pretty good already about not turning peripherals on that we're not using. We may be bad about fully turning them off with clock tree stuff if you de-init if you've used it and then you stop using it.
Yeah.
But in general, we don't start things up until we need them.
Yeah. Okay. WR knows. Does anyone know of any actually released products with CircuitPython or MicroPython? Any products? Do we know of any?
Yes.
Yeah.
the TI calculator.
The TI calculator. Yeah.
Yes.
No, I think it's CircuitPython. Oh, there's the TI. Oh, yeah, the TI calculator.
The biggest news that I was able to post this week. It's the shipping.
There's the TI calculator add-on that.
And I think MicroPython is used, and PyBoards are used in industrial settings or within products as well, where you may not see it from the outside, but that's definitely more of a focus of Damien, the creator of MicroPython.
And then as far as there's the NumWorks calculator that has a version of MicroPython, and then there's the Casio.
Yeah.
So Casio and NumWorks have MicroPython. And theoretically, one could say PyCom, which I think everyone forgets about the fact that they have MicroPython in it.
Yeah.
It's like there's MicroPython, CircuitPython,
I think they're
but there's also this entire thing called PyCom that, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I don't know if any of us have tried the Scipede Max.
Yeah, it runs MicroPython natively. It's like a Linuxy board, I think.
Isn't that the RISC-V AI thing?
Yeah, I think so. I just know it's like a 600 megahertz processor or something. It's like a processor, and it can run MicroPython natively, I guess.
All right. The Visuino guys here, making sure we all know about Visuino.
Yeah.
Got
Hustle.
it. All right.
I mean, we're very focused when we're choosing platforms that we're interested in. We're very focused on having native USB.
Yeah.
I just saw somebody in our Discord this morning saying like, "Hey, I tried to put it on an ESP8266 and the drive didn't show up." And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's exactly why we're dropping. And Dishipu, who's in the chat, said like, "Yep, that's exactly why they're dropping support in 4Xs because we've taught people that CircuitPython means a drive shows up and you just edit and off you go, and that's definitely our focus." Well, that basically eliminates all of the RISC-V boards I've seen.
Yeah.
I would love to do RISC-V, but I've not seen one. Not seen one with native USB yet.
Yeah, there might be that ESP with USB. We'll see if they add a USB.
Yeah, that'll be really interesting if they do, for sure.
Okay, David asks if it'll support TensorFlow. You can run CircuitPython. You could run CircuitPython libraries within Python 3. So just add TensorFlow next to it. You'll want a fast board like the Coral.
Yeah, I think people are going to be disappointed with trying to get TensorFlow and microcontrollers where...
I know it's like one instruction per minute.
Yeah, where you could do a lot of the heavy lifting on something like Raspberry Pi or the NVIDIA Jetson or the Google Coral, and we have Blinka, which is easier to get hardware running. So you'd use TensorFlow on that and then...
Okay, it would be cool to see CircuitPython and new SparkFun Edge board with Apollo 3 chip. Yeah, I mean, you could have a TensorFlow cope.
I looked at the Apollo 3 and it didn't pass the USB test.
But is it a coprocessor or is it a main chip? Like, do you?
It's an M4 that's clocked at like 48 or 72 megahertz.
Yeah.
Because they're shooting to be low power per megahertz or whatever.
Okay. I will find.
Yeah, I was surprised because the SparkFun Edge board was like $15 or something. I was like, oh.
It's pretty cheap.
And I think it has a lot of RAM.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have native USB, and it's like...
I mean, I think there'll be more, TensorFlow. I mean, it's like you have to load a model into it, so you have to make the model somehow.
Right. Yeah.
I think a lot of people doing this stuff. It's like you can just get a Raspberry Pi or Coral or NVIDIA and do it there. I think a lot of people aren't quite ready for it. It's just you load the model in. You have to like iterate so much to get your model going. Maybe like in a couple months or a year, I could see it being more popular. I think people are still getting used to this idea. FPGA. Wasn't there like their TD-USB was for the ICE 40?
Yeah. Which is not Xilinx, but it would... They're working on Ice Storm support for the Xilinx 7 series.
You could put this underneath them.
Which is really common.
So Yeah, we just got this pink monster.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's not actually like CircuitPython. You actually just program the model in Python, like instead of VHDL, which I think is it's a good idea if I'm understanding it right. But it's not like you're running Python on the FPGA. It's just programmed that way.
Pink them into MicroPython. Yeah, I've talked with Tim Ansel, who goes by Mithro, about like he has a thing called Foopy, which is MicroPython on FPGAs.
Okay, for the person who wants to know about a cool site with projects in CircuitPython for kids, 3 to 4 grade level, yeah.
We have one.
Learn.adafruit.com.
My goodness. I think all the Circuit Playground projects would be a good one.
Yeah, then we could do a little bit there.
So, the Circuit Playground Express projects are great for young kids. No soldering, really easy to hack and mod. We have tons of kids building Circuit Python on CPX projects all the time. Good question.
Yeah, you can also combine Cricket, which makes it more.
Yeah. I heard Dan is the Cricket master.
Yeah. Okay, wondering if there's any way to run a CircuitPython board at less than 0 degrees Celsius.
I don't think, well, I mean, you can always just try. Like, you can run a Circuit Playground Express at below freezing. It'll probably be fine. We tend to use commercial temp parts because they're less expensive and it covers most uses. But, like, it'll probably work okay down to -20. Not great, but it'll work.
Well, we know that there's boards that are going to space, so they're probably doing some, not, you know, our boards, but CircuitPython.
I've run data logging in my freezer with a feather.
Yeah.
Yes, we have proof.
Once the library worked, it was no longer hotter than the sun in my freezer, but it worked.
No, I didn't understand I thought WR was like, how do you write code onto it? And I'm like, we use USB. I think they're asking something else.
Okay.
Okay. Just showing off my shirt. Oh, wait, I'm not.
You're not on.
I was like stretching and I was like, la, la. Do you want me to show off this e-ink demo? This is another IoT. I can,
Yeah, sure.
while we wait for more questions. So in addition to the PyPortal, which has the 3.2-inch screen, color, touch screen, and on the back, the CircuitPython running SMD51 and ESP32 coprocessor, We also made a Metro, like Arduino shaped for the Metro M4, which is, it's fun. The ESP is just like so big, it's so chunky. But it's that same chip, the SAMD51, and SPI flash for storage, and then an ESP32, so you can do Wi-Fi projects with it. Got an on-off switch too, and then the demo I was running is over the weekend. I did a bunch of e-ink display ports, so I had like pretty much every chipset ported. And this demo goes to Adafruit.com, and we have a quotes service that provides a quote over JSON. You just like query it and it gives you a random quote. So this is a good demo. Every minute it will go to Adafruit.com, grab a quote, and then display it using the e-ink displays. This is how I test hardware. I have two things, and this was running for 3 days straight. So seemed pretty solid. It's another nice thing about having ESP32 as a co-processor. If anything hangs or like you get a memory leak, you can just like hard reset toggle it and just start over. Exceptions are great. There's exceptions and timeouts. Okay. Any other questions came in? We'll do some giveaways.
I think they're going to coordinate that in the chat. So
Yes.
We're waiting.
Yeah, people should hang out because there's going to be free stuff.
Yeah, we're doing.
Yeah, they said in 15 minutes.
Yeah,
Good.
we're doing that in 15 minutes, and there's also we have an IO post. Yeah.
So yeah, if you're watching the stream and you're not in the hack chat, join us in the hack chat for a chance to win.
Free stuff. But is it free? Yes.
What is it, Limor?
Free.
Oh, okay.
Just want to make that clear. Free stuff. And you can win this even if you've won stuff on our shows. Normally we say you only win once per lifetime. But this is different. It's a different show.
All right.
Yeah, we have a good fact.
Yes.
Okay. Here's another
Everybody's on top of the questions.
good link.
Right. There is a Happy Day says that means there is a spot of a chasm between CircuitPython and IoT product ship, but how beautiful to learn with. Yeah, I mean, our goal is beginners, and for this IoT stuff, it's DIY IoT.
Accessibility.
I mean, you'd be surprised. Like, I think that the IoT is pretty stable. It's just not like the lowest cost, lowest power thing. But you can, if your project is plugged in and you just want it to work, like the demos run for hours and hours and hours without any issue. I don't find it any less stable than C.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important that it just means that we don't always spend the last 10% of effort really refining it so it'll run for months on a battery or something like that.
What I do like though is, the exception handling in CircuitPython means that if you do have some error, like, you get a parsing error or connection error, it doesn't just like crash. You don't have to worry about like, did I catch every weird exception and like every return value, because exceptions will bubble up and you'll just reset.
Right. Yeah, that's very different from coming from Arduino land, right?
JK asks, I got Senrosy socket working in Python from the socket library, for that library. JK, we have socket support for the ESP32 coprocessor looking. That's
Right. It's just not the socket module. It's a different module with the same API.
I gotta use import as though. Like.
Yep. Totally.
Yeah. I'll post them a link.
Is there anything to share about the earlift devices mentioned in one of the recent CircuitPython?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
if you're in the video, you can look at pictures of them right now. That's fun.
The scrolling is so weird.
That's socket. And then I'll show an example. Oh, well, look, like GitHub isn't rendering right for me. This is so cool. Like,
Are you missing your CSS?
Yeah. It's cool. That's how to use socket. Happy Day asks, the challenge I have is main device up to battery. CircuitPython isn't optimized for battery usage yet. We can plug into the wall or wait till we have more low power modes supported.
Yeah, we're just not there yet.
Stability and functionality are our priorities. Then we'll be able to optimize. Okay, a lot of people joining because everybody wants the free stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll say that our priority is like that first 5 minutes that you get something with CircuitPython matters more than maybe 5 years down the road.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And that's why we were talking a little bit about the workflow over BLE in the second half of the year. And I think that's very high on my list and Dan's list as well, to make it easy that kids who are, or anybody who's wants to learn to program but doesn't have a computer can from their phone or a tablet. Because in particular, my nieces only have the only device that they have is their tablets, and so
it's common. A lot of people, their computer is their phone.
Right.
And
yeah. So that's. I was gonna say that is why that first 5 minutes is always the priority.
Yeah,
the first 5 minutes is a good metaphor for a stable experience, in my opinion.
Yeah, you want to make sure you can get it that far.
Yeah.
And when we visited school teachers, they had to tell us, like, it has to be under $20. It has to work with old Windows computers. Ideally, it would just show up as a USB drive. And so we got that part done. And that's statistically, that's going to be the most way young people learn computing. So we took care of that one already.
Right.
And then some of the schools have, and kids who have phones or tablets, they have something they can do at home. That's, round two. What we got? Async IO and CircuitPython.
I think even async IO and MicroPython is still being hashed out. It's a challenge, but
yeah, there's the micro async IO that Peter Hinch did.
Yeah. But again, if you have a Wi-Fi coprocessor, you don't need to be is asynchronous.
Yeah, and async, ultimately you still are competing for the same CPU. So until we have multiple CPUs, you're really not gaining that much, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think, one thing I like is the DMA stuff you're doing.
Right.
The display is also async using DMA. What else uses DMA? So the file sys is DMA async.
Yeah, the other thing we haven't talked about yet is, Howard, one of the things we did work on for that first 5 minutes is adding translation support.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just chatting with somebody in Discord who's trying to get Pinyin working.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like,
Chinese,
whoa.
and like I would love to get that working, but they're running into some issues, and it's, yeah, we'll have to put some work into that to get it to work. But if I had to pick between getting Chinese language to work and interrupts or sleep working, I'd pick the language one every time.
The one that has like 6 billion people who speak it?
The one that has 6 billion people who want to learn to code that speak it. And like, yeah, for sure. Like, it's all about like making that first 5 minutes and making it as welcoming as you can. So our policy on that has been, we translate error messages and stuff, but we don't actually translate actual Python keywords. So.
Okay. So Bailey asked me guides for teachers on setting up Circuit Playground in a classroom. We actually have a good Chromebook guide, which I'll find.
Yeah, I got it.
Mm.
Yeah. Thanks to Mike B for hooking up that guide.
WRR says, I can't. Can I turn off the scrolling?
I know. Okay. Do you have any thoughts on best practice for writing universal API for iOS if across the different types of peripheral layouts? Scott, that's all you have thoughts on.
Yeah. It's a good question. And I hinted at it earlier, and I should type this out too. But when I was first looking at MicroPython and the machine API, it felt very oriented towards the actual structure of the MCU and abstracting the commonalities of MCU structure. Whereas as I looked more and more into that, I went into the world of like, here are the different sorts of behaviors I need, and then just writing modules based on behavior rather than structure. And so that's what my advice would be is design your API for what you want to achieve, not for the tools that you have at hand. Which I will try to write into here.
Yeah.
If I can find it.
So
It's WRR, right?
I just answered Matt, who asked, will we support the Wing 1500? And the answer is no. The driver for it isn't as easy to use as the ESP32. I like the ESP32 because we can add support for new things in it. Like, for example, like as new security stuff comes out, it's really easy to compile a new firmware or compile in certificates, whereas the Wing 1500 is closed source. It's also cheaper. So I'm probably not going to even bother doing a back port of the Wing 1500 stuff. I just answered just that Dad's asked if you can program over Wi-Fi. So we don't have a web REPL. I don't think we have any plans for web REPL just yet, although I think that, it's kind of cool. But what's neat about like Python and being interpreted is you just download a file and then execute it, which is like a total crime, but you can do it. Right, Hendra says, thanks for the translation stuff.
Nice. Oh, that's so cool.
What?
That the person who did the translation actually uses it with their students.
Yeah. I think that's lovely. I mean, it's great for students. I think they're not going to want to learn English while, if they're young, they may not, they're not going to know what like a byte array is. Like what?
Nice not to get yelled out in other languages either when you make a mistake. It's nice to get it in your own native language.
Yeah, JK asked if only ASCII, and the answer is no. Thanks to Python 3, Unicode built in.
Yeah.
Yay, Python 3 Unicode. More bytes, but it's worth it. This is like the busiest hack chat ever. Like tons of questions.
Right. Well, I think the previous one we've done was only a half hour long, so this has gotten time to ramp up. Which
people kind of getting like they're kind of like, okay, I'm feeling confident. Ask some questions.
I like that the educators did not know about some of the resources specifically, and now they do.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. UTF-8's interesting because ASCII is actually a subset.
Yes.
Which is why it got widespread. People, according to Wikipedia, that's why it was adopted.
Yeah, the German translation has plenty of non-ASCII bars.
We also have pirate translation.
Oh, that's right.
If you wanna just see what it's like to add translation strings, that's a great place to start. Sorry, I got distracted by Circuit Perl.
Circuit Perl.
Well,
Problem is I'm still a Perl 4 lady. Like I never got onto the Perl 5 bandwagon. Love Perl.
I've never actually used it. I went to Barnes and Noble when I was like wanting to get away from PHP and like remember sitting in the book aisle holding a Perl book and a Python book, and I picked up the Python book and never looked back.
no more bookstores. How will a young version of Scott decide this in the future?
I know. I don't.
There'll be a
Which
website.
online course to click on?
Right.
Okay.
Writing is on the wall. There is a fourth interpreter. There is fourth.
Yeah,
for-
there's the crisp fourth.
And there is Circuit Scheme, right?
Circuit Scheme, right.
Dave did Circuit Scheme.
Circuit Scheme. Circuit Scheme. And he also did, yeah, that's the scheme, but he didn't, there's another one. There's the Golang.
And Rust.
Yeah.
Golang, Rust.
Yeah, TinyGo runs on
Yeah.
Circuit Playground now. We got all the languages.
Yeah. Dave showed up. He's just like, hey, it's me. He said Circuit Scheme.
You say
I
it 3
think-
times.
I think Python is the future.
So,
I mean, they're still making really good changes to it.
okay.
Python is different because it's used by non-computer people,
Yeah.
right? Like that's, and this gets back to, I was talking about the API design of like, you should base your API on the things that you want to achieve, not the tools that you have to achieve something. And I think that's what we're seeing both with CircuitPython and Python is that it's used by people who want to accomplish something. And Python is the easiest tool to pick up and use.
Okay. All right, they're gonna do this giveaway. Yay, free. JK asks, is there a future for C++? Is CircuitPython written in C++ or C? I can't remember.
It's in C.
Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of object-oriented, though.
Kind of. Yeah.
I wonder why do you think he picked C, not C++? Damien started.
I've never asked him that. I don't know.
Okay.
I think he didn't have as much control over the memory management. Maybe he wanted to.
Yeah, I think C++ has details you got to figure out in order to get it slim for micros.
Yeah.
For the person who wants to know if all this information is available, hackchat, they always have a log, and then we have this video. What we're doing.
Nice. What did I win?
All right. Epic.
UCSD Pascal.
What's that? What's the difference between like normal Pascal?
I've not done Pascal before.
I did try. I programmed in Pascal. Max used to be all Pascal, Turbo Pascal. It's okay. I mean, the one thing that they had was like you couldn't overwrite strings. It's kind of like they kind of decided you had the length of the string at the beginning, so that kind of solved one problem. But I think it meant you couldn't have strings more than 255 characters. It's been a really long time since I wrote Pascal. I don't know anyone who does. I haven't seen. You know what's funny? I was looking at demos. A lot of demos are written in Pascal, like Borland.
Yeah, Lua is something we haven't talked about either. That's very common in gaming.
I don't like Lua. I don't know why. I'm sort of.
I just ported it.
Lua
I could read it enough to port it to Python. But that's my life, putting CircuitPython and everything.
It's a good life.
I got a couple more minutes.
Yeah, like 2 more minutes. Okay, they use Python in France for their physics curriculum. We appreciate having a microcontroller that lets our student use the same structure. Yeah, that's what we're hearing a lot too. They're learning Python during the day. They're probably doing things like Jupyter notebooks. They might then be able to go do some type of machine learning.
Yeah.
But then for electronics, instead of having to relearn everything, they can use that knowledge immediately. And this is probably what we're going to hear from France a lot, because they seem to.
Well, they've got the TI calculators.
Yeah, and they've also announced that that's the national language, programming language. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Jupyter support in MicroPython. We also have a Jupyter
we have
tutorial too.
Jupyter CircuitPython. I think we had like 100 people all live in the chat. It's a lot of people.
That's all.
Boom. Fill with the links. Right. Oh wait, the thing, the overhead is now 0 days.
Yeah,
We're done.
To 1 hour. So
This is finished. Dun, dun, dun. We successfully.
And then it turned into, just in time.
It turned into a skull.
My placeholder was Dan, Kattni, and Scott before. So now it's now. And look, the 0 is still on there.
I think we have to delete the zeros.
Yeah, so it looks like
it's hanging out with some zeros. It's just like, I'm hungry for zeros.
No, I redid the logo after 15 years, and now it has little piercings. So I feel like it's more modern.
Okay, next week is Matt Berggren from Autodesk. We've had on our shows. We know him.
Yeah.
Rockin'. Thanks, everyone.
All right, and for the folks who are still on the video chat, we'll be doing show and tell at 7:30 Eastern Time, youtube.com/Adafruit, and you'll also see us on Ask an Engineer at 8 p.m. You'll probably see some of these folks that are here.
Yep, and we have a Discord chat people can hop into as well.
Yep. Adafruit IT/Discord or discord.gg/Adafruit is another way to say it.
Discord.
Okay. All right, I'm going to stop broadcasting.
Keep chatting. Thanks, Sophie.
All right, thanks for tuning in on the back channel.
Thanks, everybody.
Yes,
Bye,
it was fun.
everybody.
Watch, just type.